All right, I am going to say aloha again, and you say aloha. Aloha, very good. Now you are going to think that aloha means hello or goodbye, but I'm going to tell you the deeper meaning of aloha. Alo means face to face, and ha is breath. It's the spirit. It's what God did with Adam when he first made him in the dust. He breathed the ha into him as he looked into him face to face. And I want to start by saying aloha to you, because this foundational part of our teaching is the biblical foundations. And we're going to need the Lord to breathe His breath and His Spirit into us so that we can understand just how deep and profound and amazing sex is. And I would say that without God, you cannot fully understand sex. And if we only have the world's version of sex, it's very cheapened and very superficial. And so I've written a number of things that the Lord has shown me as I've opened up the scriptures to Genesis. And so if we're going to fully understand sex, it has to start with God. Because before Genesis 1, God was. He is. From infinity, God was and is. And God reveals Himself in Scripture as Father and Son, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. And when you look at the attributes of who they are, notice I said they. Thank you for the mic. Who they are, the Father is not the Son's not the Father, the Son's not the Spirit's not the Son, and the Spirit's not the Father. They are different, and yet they are equal. That's why I tried to do an equilateral triangle, but I got a D in art, so I apologize. Even though they're different, they are one. They are one being. In fact, there is diversity within Godhead, but complete unity and union. All of this is revealing a whole lot about sex. I hope you're starting to make those connections. Built into God is inherent community and family. It's not an accident that God reveals Himself as Father and Jesus as Son. That's intentional. Within the way they treat one another is always with honor. It's with an amazing love. There is order here, and out of their love for one another, it breathes life. And so out of the overflow, and I really should put a red heart right here, out of the overflow of their love for one another, God decided to create male and female, Adam and Eve, in His image. And so part of His image is that Adam was not the same as Eve, and Eve was not the same as Adam. They are different, yet they are equal, and they are one. There is diversity within male and female, yet unity and union, built-in community, family, and we are to honor and love one another, creating an order, and out of the love, life-giving. So what you have in marriage is your best picture of who God is. If you had only males, we could not understand God fully. If we had only females, we would not understand God fully. That's one of the reasons why we teach with a male-female team, so that you guys see the image of God. And marriage is to be that one relationship that helps us understand the masculine side of God and the feminine side of God. And so with male and female, you have biological sex. And God is the one who defined marriage. In His image, that's Genesis 1. Marriage is Genesis 2. And a very shortened version of Genesis 2:24, if you're taking notes, is God said, it is appointed for a man to leave. That's why I wrote leave. Leave his mother and father. Adam had no mother and father. So we know that this verse about marriage is for all time. This is God's definition of marriage. A man, one man, is to leave his father and mother, cleave to his wife, to be united to his wife. And then they become one flesh. And that's the sex part, the fun part. Yes, it was God's idea to have sex. And when Adam and Eve first discovered the whole garden, and then at the end of the day, they sat down and maybe he put his arm around her, and they're naked and without any shame. I'm going to say that again. They were naked and without any shame. There was no barrier between he and her, and there was no shame. Really important, especially when we start seeing the dark side of what the devil tries to do. I think he put his arm around her and maybe some things started to happen. And what did God do? Oh, no, don't, Adam, don't go there. Don't touch her. Oh, no. That is not what God was doing. God was celebrating. Sex was his idea. He was pleased and delighted because in that expression of sex, male and female loving each other so perfectly, I would say sex done that way gives us the ultimate image of the oneness of God, because the two literally become one in sex. Two bodies become one. Two beings become one. The two shall become one, Jesus said when he was talking in the New Testament. So out of that love, right, out of the love that they had for each other springs the idea to bring human life, and out of the love that they have comes children, and you get family. And then out of the love of their spouses comes more children, grandchildren, and then great-grandchildren, and then a whole lot of children, because now we're talking generations. And God is always thinking to the 1,000th generation. And you can see that the number of children keeps increasing because God was serious about be fruitful and multiply. So many kids that nations were produced. Whoa. So I like to say, when God created sex, he was thinking about nations. And you read through the entire Bible and you will see that nations is something really, really dear to God's heart. And sex is the link between all of these generations leading to strong nations. Is that beautiful? Is that amazing? Could we say that God's idea was that even nations, and within a nation there would be diversity, and yet equality, oneness, unity, community, family? Can't we say that? I mean, all of this springs from the image of God. So, I did not draw a snake because I got a D in art. But imagine now if you're the devil who wanted to be God, who got cast down, and he hates God. And he knows he cannot take God down. So what is the devil going to do since he can't take God down? If you were the devil, how would you mess up this beautiful picture? Enter the snake, Genesis chapter 3. What does the devil do? First thing he says, did God really say? Right? He brings doubt. Oh, you will not surely die. He brings lies. He redefines death. And then he creates confusion. Adam heard clearly what God said, but did God really say? Adam, did God really say? Right? The devil brings confusion on what is very clear and what is very good. Well, it led to Eve's disobedience, and Adam, like a dork, was standing right next to her and took the same fruit. That's Adam's fault more than Eve's fault. Well, what happened? Immediately, they feel guilt and they feel shame. Right? God created them naked and without shame. And what do they immediately feel? Oh, shame. We got to cover ourselves. Let's go find a leaf to protect ourselves. Oh man, this is not a good situation. Let's go hide. Let's see if we can hide from God. Hello. So that leads to isolation. Isolation with God and isolation between Adam and Eve. But thank God, one of the best words in the entire Bible is, Adam, where are you? I love that. If God would have never asked that question, do you think Adam and Eve would have gone to God? That was grace. Hey, Adam, what happened? Oh, it was the woman that you created. So he ushers in blame of the woman, blame of God. Well, how is she feeling about that? Well, she's pretty hurt about that, and she's angry. I'm getting blamed now, and there's brokenness and conflict now between man and woman, and all of this leading to death. Well, guess what? The devil's kind of happy about that, because all of this good unity, good family, good honoring, it's pretty messed up. But you know what? I'm not happy about this image thing about male being in the image of God and female being in the image of God. I think I'm going to redefine biological sex and call it gender. And do a little research on a guy named John Money. He is not money. You don't want to bank on John Money. He took a circumcised penis that got cut off, and he said, aha, this is how I'm going to experiment with using this male and turn him into a female. John Money, look it up. And of course, Facebook a little while ago had 64 genders, right? So redefine and then add. Oh, that's so clear. Male and female, biological sex. Oh, 64 genders, 100 sexual orientations we can bring in. Oh man, but you know what? I really hate marriage because marriage brings life. I'm speaking as the devil. So instead of leave, cleave, have sex, well, maybe we can flip that around and maybe we can coax everybody to have sex first. Now, some of you older folks are a mature generation. Back in the day, you guys had the honor that if anyone had sex before marriage, you did the honorable thing. This was before the pill. And you said, well, I'm going to marry her. And then you decided to leave the mother and father, but oh darn, how are we going to care for this baby? So maybe, Dad and Mom, can we move into the basement? And can you provide for us? Right? You see how the devil just wants to flip this, but that was back in the 50s and the 60s, and then came the pill, right? And then all of a sudden he blames and says, well, how come you're not on the pill? Forget you, I'm out of here. So no marriage there, right? The devil hates marriage, hates life. Then in the early 70s came no-fault divorce. Yeah, get married, but for whatever reason, maybe you don't like the way she cooks. Hey, no fault here. Let's just separate and this will dissolve this marriage. No fault divorce was introduced. Then marriage was redefined, no longer man and woman. And then in today's world, there's really no mention of marriage. It's just sex, 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 sex. Divorced from marriage. Marriage not even mentioned. What a crafty devil. And what does that lead to? Broken families, broken kids. And then if you talk brokenness, 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 we're talking about cursed generations instead of blessed generations. And you know, I left something out that's pretty important. Just like Cain killed his brother Abel, we don't want that baby. Abortion. And I want you to look here. I don't really want to erase this, but Cain, Abel, and Seth. Look at what happened. It's not just Abel that was removed. It was Abel's potential children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. There could have been nations. There would have been nations that would have come through Abel, but they got eliminated because he was murdered. Of course, the devil loves that, and God is just broken by that. And if there are a lot of cursed generations, a lot of brokenness, and I don't want you to feel like I'm bringing the hammer on you, because in my dad's line, 4 generations of divorce. I am super thankful that my parents decided to stay together even though they did not have the best marriage. But they stayed together with a conflictual marriage, and they made it better for my 2 brothers and I to stay together and actually have a better relationship with our spouses. And so I'm super grateful to my parents, even though when I was a teenager, I was not happy with them. And I blamed them from a lot. I learned a lot from Adam. Now I'm super thankful for them. But what's going to happen with all this brokenness and curse is an impoverished, weak, broken Canada. I'm getting really specific. And if I was in America, I would say a broken, weak, impoverished America, where no longer do people look on it favorably to get married and to have children. And if there's not children, if there's not a next generation, what's going to happen to glorious and free Canada? Same thing with free America. There will be other groups that will come in and they will produce a lot of kids. And the nation that we once knew would no longer be. Which side is better? Which side do we want? Which side have we known? And just to level the playing field,